Best parts of Dune, the original. Okay, we're not gonna see the weirding way weapon that was, you know what, David Lynch's version from
masterpiece,
the 1980s. No, this is Dune Prophecy, and it is a spin-off series to the wildly popular, recently released Dune films. This was on HBO Max. This came out 2 weeks ago, I think, and I wanted to cover it after I get 2 episodes in. I wanted to see if it was worth it, kind of get more than a single episode. There's only 6 episodes in this series, and so I thought, okay, let's do a 2-episode thing. We can check in the future. But I gotta say, I went in with low expectations, didn't expect much from the series. When I heard about this, the Jenny Bezeret, the sisterhood, essentially.
The Benny and the Jets.
Benny and the Jets, this is going to focus on them. And I was like, oh, man, I like the houses. I like, Arrakis and all that. But, I said, wow, that is kind of fascinating, to get their origins, to get, the voice. How do they do the voice? How do they control? Because these women get so powerful that they can raise and lower body temperatures. Actually, some humans could do that right now. But they go beyond that, where they can, choose the sex of their babies and do wild and crazy things. And so I thought it might be interesting to explore that. So I watched the first 2 episodes. Been watching a week at a time, and I gotta say, and I've heard feedback online. Oh, the show is boring, or it has pacing problems, or I don't like it, and I've heard a lot of that. But me personally, I must really love sci-fi. Let me qualify this with, I'm a big Dune fan. Love Dune. After each of these episodes, I run over to the YouTube channel Quinn's Ideas, which I highly recommend, and he goes and he expands on these because he's read all the original Dune novels, then all the Brian Herbert novels that expands it, the Butlerian Jihad and the AI wars and all this stuff and all this theory crafting, and it enriches it. And so when I watch his videos, and what I'm getting from this is my love of Dune and sci-fi. So seeing this play out, this series is set 1,000 years
10,000.
Oh shit, that's right. 10,000. Yes. That might be a little too far, but 10,000 years before Paul Atreides. Yeah. And ultimately, with these first 2 episodes, I enjoyed it, and I want to make a recommendation. If you like sci-fi, if you like Dune, here's some of the stuff I love. The atmosphere is great. The music, the low-tech sci-fi look to everything, the ships. They even show a old school highliner. That's where they fold space. The Spacing Guild definitely is around at this time. The fighters, the capital ships. Seeing these designs like this in episode 2, there's a bustling airport, and I'm really surprised at the amount of money on screen. I watched something like The Acolyte, and everything's so fucking small. Here, there's so many costumes, fucking futuristic cars, and beautiful vistas in the Dune universe. So to see it come alive, it didn't seem as if HBO cheaped out, and I really appreciate that. They even use the technology, the Dune shields that you see. So the first 2 episodes have me intrigued, mainly because of one character, Desmond. Now, who is this guy?
Travis from Vikings.
Travis Fimmel or something like that. And this poor guy, he cannot catch a break, because the last series I watched him in, Fimmel, was Raised by Wolves. And this reminds me so much of Raised by Wolves, that kind of clean look from Ridley Scott that was on HBO Max that got fucking canceled, and I'm fucking still pissed over that. And I'll never get to see the conclusion of that. And it's almost like he's playing this exact same character from that. So the guy has definitely been typecast as the interesting, mysterious, loose cannon character. And I find him and his secret and his connection to the sandworms and his apparent motivation of going to destroy this, be a threat and take down the sisterhood, to be a compelling one. I also enjoy seeing all the sisterhood, rituals and things brought to life, and I think they're expertly filmed. So I'm intrigued with these first 2 episodes. Now, they're not perfect. I have a huge list of things that they can improve on. But I think it's a good enough opening for me to make my recommendation on that. What do you guys think of Dune Prophecy?
I'm not huge into sci-fi as you are.
Yeah.
I do like the visuals and some of the sets and stuff. But honestly, I could see the pacing, and I was sometimes bored with this. A lot of it was just like repetition. It was like we're trying to hammer home, oh, this guy's a bad guy. It's like, oh, he's mysterious. It's like he's doing bad things. It's like I get that. Can we move on into something else?
Travis?
Yes, Travis.
Desmond.
Desmond. It's like, okay, we have our villain. We got this. Let's move on. But
I didn't find a lot of repetition in what he did. Okay.
well, they're just like trying to say like he's evil. It's like, okay, got it, noted. Let's do something
Or
else.
is he?
Dangerous, yeah. It's
Yeah,
like,
well, that's the prophecy because like the temple's built on blood or whatever. Yeah, I get it. But like you were super excited. You went out and saw more YouTube stuff. I was
More
like,
context
more
to
content
it, yeah.
to
I
kind
can
of fill
actually
in.
separate that from my score, but I get
Okay, yeah, to fill in some of the other stuff. But it was a good watch. But I honestly wouldn't go out and really see it if I didn't have to.
Huh, okay. And let me ask you
It's
real
fine.
quick, Joe, how did you enjoy Dune?
I really like Dune.
Okay.
Yeah, the movies were great. Even the old one was great and cheesy. I love the cheese. Come on. So those are great.
Ultimo cheese.
This separate thing.
Oh, the original.
Right now, I'm just like, eh.
Interesting. Okay, yeah. That's kind of what I ran into a
Yeah.
lot in online comments beyond the fan areas.
Yeah, I mean, I've read all of the original books. I've even read a lot of Brian's books, which are not very good, and the man's got some problems.
Really?
This
Dang,
is based
that
on
sucks.
this is based on a new one that I've never read. It's like 2012.
Sisterhood of Dune.
Yeah, it's like something that came out way later. I never read read that stuff.
It's
but
right on Sisterhood of Dune, so I'm not sure.
yeah,
if
I'm
that's
just
one of the newer
I'm bored. I love sci-fi and I love Dune, and I just don't think that this is very good. I think that there's an interesting story here, and I was actually only starting to get. I was bored up until the last 5 minutes of episode 2, and I'm like, okay, let's do some stuff. This is actually finally getting interesting.
Yeah.
We're moving at an appropriate pace. I felt like coming from the 2-part movie, I even feel the average audience didn't need the level of backstory. It felt like they were like holding their hand all the way through, not quite treating them like idiots, but treating them like they were, like a lost babe in the woods. And it's like, I think that you're going to have to expect people to have seen your movie that is on your other platform, because it just took too long to get going. If the last 5 minutes of episode 2 hadn't happened, I would have just said, don't even bother. But I am interested to see how this is developing now. But I think getting to that moment, I was at the point where it's like, I don't have the time. There's interesting stuff on TV I'd rather be watching, and this just wasn't it.
And you said there's only 6?
There's 6.
Man, see, because I like I was saying, like we already got our mysterious guy.
You got
kind
it.
of speed that up in the beginning, and we got that, and then from the ending part, kind of move along from there. Especially if you got 6.
I'm surprised. I think episode 2 is extremely well paced. There's not a moment in episode 2 where I was bored. Episode 1, I could kind of see where there's some pacing issues. They
That should've
wanted
been
to
harder,
show
yeah.
the creation of the Bene Gesserit long ago when they're younger, and then they kind of flash forward, and we have this, these actresses, and then you're introduced to the acolyte ladies. I gotta be honest. In episode 1, I was a little shaky, and it's like, I'm not sure I'm gonna give a fuck about any of these acolyte character ladies. I don't think I'd like them. So I kind of focused mainly on the Reverend Mother, the leader, because I think she's a great actress. And I'm like, okay, so I'm going to be interested in her story. However, because they're trying to introduce all these factions, you have the Emperor, you have one of the houses, Riche, something like that, that's kind of just showing the inner workings of how the Bene Gesserit sisterhood are advisors to all of the different houses and how they've obtained power. So it's cool to see them kind of communicate with each other. So I was just kind of fascinated with the lore and the history, especially when they were at the meeting. And then behind, the men are talking, but then behind the scenes, they're doing the real thing. It's like, get your guy to shut the fuck up, or get your guy to get out of here later on in episode 2. I loved it. And he's kind of, he's got a fleet in orbit, this house, Riche, and the Emperor really, really needs it because he's losing power on Arrakis. So I feel like every single little thing needed some setup and needed some time. And then there's a little bit, I think maybe they deliberately do some of the pacing from Denis Villeneuve's Dune, but maybe this isn't directed by Denis Villeneuve, so maybe the director and people involved don't quite have the talent that Denis has and the budget that Denis has to make that kind of slower burn pace work for you guys. But for me, it was working.
See,
and in episode 2 the whole way.
Yeah, those are the parts that honestly I do like, that whole like the main ones.
Yeah.
But as soon as we go to the acolytes and the girls and all that stuff,
That would be episode 2? We go to the acolytes?
It kind of goes with both.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
And
that really slows it down
Yeah,
for me. But
yeah.
I do like that part.
I agree with you.
But I think they're trying to lean more to the younger, like, demographics.
Younger generation, and I'm not interested in that. I agree with you, Joe.
Well, and then
except for episode 2, where the one lady gets the agony that started to get.
The Vision
really
Quest
good.
is interesting for sure. I was really disappointed in the first one where one of the Harkonnen sisters is like, "I've been working on the voice off screen, and I'm not going to tell you how this power happened." Or it's like that is.
I thought we saw the origin of the voice. No, she just uses it. I'm like, okay, cool.
Are we gonna?
I thought we were gonna
like she gets to figure out some of this stuff. Like that is stuff
Secrets.
that's like that's how you hook an audience or hook me because I want to know the origin of these iconic powers.
She's in her room going, something like that.
Yeah, and so I think that episode 1 is the main problem for me. Like I said, there's some parts of 2 that I liked, but again, 6 episode series, and if I'm half in, half out, and I
look at it as a 6-hour film spinoff, guys. I think what it
got
is
time
I'm
to waste.
also used to really bad the
Movies?
Sci-Fi
It's me.
Channel movies. I saw the Dune one there with Leto, the guy that actually Leto II, who turns into a sandworm. This is the son of Paul Atreides.
Did it have James
You know what?
McAvoy or somebody?
The novels are decades old. I don't need
Yeah.
to worry about spoilers.
But that movie doesn't cover the really cool. The problem is the
So that was, yeah, you're right.
The Dune universe gets
Sons of Dune,
crazy.
Children of Dune is what that one.
when he
covers.
starts to clone Duncan, Idaho, and they have
That gets
sex
wild.
fights, like
And then magical
He's only,
penises.
He's a magic-
only told me about this, but I was like,
I want them,
I'm
and so
good.
and so
I'm
I was
good.
getting excited when they were kind of teasing at Leto II.
Yeah.
And this God Emperor worm, I am holding out hope that we will see the God Emperor in worm form in some kind of vision. I don't know. Do it. It's real.
Cowards.
Please,
Do it, you fucking cowards.
nah,
And
not gonna happen.
Sign up
and
Momoa.
if this does well enough, which I clearly think it's too much of a niche,
Yeah.
and it's not going to do well. If it does do in an alternate universe where this got as popular as Game of Thrones, then maybe when this concludes, we can get a God Emperor series or something after that goes in that. But I loved how the first episode even touched on some visuals that we've never gotten in Dune, the Butlerian Jihad, the AI war. You got to see a tiny bit of that. I hope that they flash back to that again in the future. And I think some of it maybe really does tie in to maybe AI and robotics or nanotech. Maybe that's an explanation for this mysterious powers that Desmond seems to have, instead of it being connected to
He's
the
Lisan
worm.
al-Gaib.
Do I really believe that he's a Lisan al-Gaib? No,
Yes.
I don't
He
believe
got
it.
swallowed by
This
a
is
worm.
fucking bullshit. There's only one Lisan al-Gaib!
He got swallowed by a worm and
Are
spit
you
back
sure
out.
there's only one?
Well, this is 10,000 years in the
Exactly.
future.
Well,
But
maybe
I don't
there's-
want
Then
it.
they
I don't-
scrub him
I
out of
don't
the
want
history
it.
books.
No,
They
he's
have to scrub him
Lisa
out.
al-Gaib.
Well, that's fascinating to me. And
Yeah,
so
that part.
I think, yeah, no, I agree that the weaker parts are the acolyte chicks, but you know, so
Juan?
far on the whole. Oh, and also there was an out of place part. I appreciated seeing a nightclub in the future with Dune, but it bordered on that hokey not working.
Yes, it was trying too hard.
yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
I kind of fast
We
forward
need
that part. I was
sex.
like, we don't need this.
What's the
It's
guy-
Like, everyone's doing coke and doing this crazy shit.
So James McAvoy, as a kid, a young actor, it's crazy seeing him. You should see the sci-fi movie that he's in, Children of Dune, where again he turns into the sandworm and he's the son of Paul. And I'm just used to that, and so this stuff blows that away, and I'm just so if the club scene is the hokiest it gets, I'm
I
good.
don't know. We'll see.
All right, let's let's go. So that's our kind of general consensus on it. Kind of inappropriate to try to rate 2 episodes as one.
Yeah.
So just give your general recommendation on these first 2 episodes. Then we'll go into a breakdown where we'll give you the individual score. For me, after seeing these 2 episodes, I think if you saw episode 1, I think most people, unless you're a fan like I am, would probably drop off. However, if you watch the first 2 episodes, that's how it should have came out, a 2-episode chunk. And I think by the end of episode 2, there's enough mystery, enough intrigue, and enough skill on display here with some good dialogue and some good mysteries that I am on for the ride. So I would recommend it. What do you guys?
Are we doing a final?
Just, do you recommend it? Or
I honestly, right now,
you still don't care.
Right now, I still don't care. I would honestly wait till it's probably complete.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As
of now.
Right now, I cannot recommend this show until I see more of it. I think that there's glimpses of really interesting stuff here, and it could go in an amazing direction, in a direction that I know that Dune is capable of going. I just don't know yet, and that's a really big commitment, and I wouldn't want someone to sit down and watch 2 hours.
Yeah.
And if in episode 3 and 4 don't go so well, then we're talking about the majority of the series not being
You're
good.
speaking to my heart, Alex, because I feel like you're speaking about Raised by Wolves, where I got 2 fucking seasons, and I'll never know what happens in any of the I fucking 20 hours of content, and I'm still what the fuck is pissing me off. But here's the good thing about Dune Prophecy is that it's completed. So unlike that series, it won't be canceled. We will get a conclusion, but you guys are saying, I want to see if the whole story is good before.
Yeah.
Before I can recommend it.
Well, yeah, I think that's true for any type of review or analysis. But do I think if we were to take a snapshot 2 episodes in, do I think it's intriguing enough for me personally to make a recommendation? Yeah. All right, so let's jump into the individual episodes, the nitty and gritty. Spoilers ahead, so don't watch if you haven't seen these 2 episodes. Okay, episode 1. Here we get the internal battle for the sisterhood. We get this, the voice used for the first time where she just kind of springs it on her. So we don't see the origin of the voice. We just see when it was first used.
I've been practicing this off screen.
And it was deployed against another sister in a power struggle between, the future of the sisterhood. And, let's see, Valia, who is the one that uses the voice, eventually becomes in control. Yeah. And she wins, essentially, this power struggle. Fast forward, and you have the proliferation of the Bene Gesserit the way they wanted, where they are advisors. Now, let me just fucking say this. As stupid as shit, this would never fucking happen if we're trying to play super realism and in these houses. Nobody has the inkling that maybe these sisters aren't quite as.
Hey, what are you doing with your hands?
Yeah, exactly. What is that? Yeah. And why did you just tell me to leave, which benefits you? This kind of stuff. It's stupid, okay? But there's a certain amount of suspension of disbelief that I have for it.
I mean, it's kind of explained that it's important. Imagine you are a king or the emperor, and you could have a lie detector standing next to you at all times.
That's what it is.
And it's like, it is.
And there's no computers.
I think it's kind of
technology,
believable.
but it's not, AI. Advanced.
Yeah, I mean, I always liked it. I thought I've thought of them as the Benny and the Jets since high school, and I will never get out of my brain. But it's like I've always kind of liked them as like this whole secret thing, and they do have a like. To me, it does make sense that these houses would want them around, but they would also be wary of them at all times because as much as I want to know your bullshit, her standing there means she knows my bullshit, and that's dangerous. And so there's a.
And I like that. It would have been nice to have seen maybe a little bit of building trust over time with the, some houses are like, don't listen to that bitch and she's always there. I don't know why she's here, but my dad made me take her. And then other houses are like, she saved my life. This guy he was actually gonna backstab me, and that's how you build the trust. So you just kind of have to imagine that part on your own. But there are plenty of scenes that show you them doing their thing in current time.
They're evil.
And so then we get to know the sister acolytes. Here's where I think it's a little weaker. I'm not really. You got the rebellious chick who's and I'm like, I already hate you. And then you've got the kind of quiet, mousy chick that is the ancestor that will be put through the agony later on. You got a bigger, headstrong chick. And what else? You have one that's very faith-based, which is in direct opposition to that kind of, rebellious one. And I'm like, man, wouldn't have been just like knock all this shit out of these women and get them all uniform? But maybe that's not how the Bene work. Maybe they do appreciate some uniqueness here and there. So it's just fascinating. So hopefully, as we get more episodes, the sisters will get interesting development. And they do in episode 2, at least one of them. So now they're in power. Their tendrils have been put into the Empire. And Valia is at the height of her. She gets everything she wants. She's about to have the princess come and join the fucking coven, the sisterhood. She's already got an advisor that it's in the emperor's ear, and all the power is hers. She's got everything. And her fucking world comes crashing down, and that's how we see what the hell's going on as it unravels. So, they have this arranged marriage for the ship. But at the same time, this guy, Desmond, comes out of nowhere. He's very interesting, showing up, seemingly helping the Emperor. He says that he was ambushed on Arrakis, but it wasn't Fremen forces. It was Imperium forces, so I don't really understand what that is, but all of his forces were obliterated. He was the sole survivor, and apparently when we go and look on the technology and all the CGI and all the tech is as good as the movies.
Yeah, that looks good.
He watches this little thing where the sandworm does. So I'm like, that actually happened. But I still don't believe it. I'm like, he's lying, or this is manipulated or something, because the worms, do the worms find other people special besides...
because they also said it's like, well, he's telling the truth, or he really believes he's telling the truth. So that's another thing.
Yeah,
too.
we see that in episode 2. But here in episode 1, we get that. We see, the sisters kind of signaling to each other, making their power plays. And we set up the princess. This is the other subplot. She goes to a nightclub. This was kind of unexpected. I'm like, what's going on
Well, you have
here?
that trope. She's falling in love with her
there you go.
tennis instructor.
Yeah,
they're
sword
training.
master.
He's like, oh, hey, what's up?
And he's an Atreides,
Yeah.
and he's all handsome and teaching her to fight. And they basically have sex. His name is Kyrian Atreides, her sword master teacher. But eventually Desmond helps Javico, which is the emperor here, by burning this little kid, this heir that other house with the ship shows up, an arranged marriage between him and the princess. The ages are all off, but they don't fucking care in this universe. Like, this is probably the way it was in the books. In the books, in fact, a lot of the people are very, very young. At least, some of the characters that we follow throughout.
So it's good for the
Herbert's
kingdom.
Novels. And eventually, so not only because the emperor's like, man, I don't want to do this. This doesn't feel right. Even though my advisor's telling me to do it and this and that, I just don't want to do it. He confides in that, lets it slip, and then Desmond goes,
Heard.
And then he visits the little kid.
That's not what I meant.
There was this scene earlier, a little kid playing with this fucking AI thing, and I was like, why would you give the kid that? If it's that, band, that's kind of bullshit that it shows up there. There's no repercussions for him. Of course, he's a lord, and I guess he gets away with stuff. But it does show you that there's still AI tech, even though, this is outlawed, it's banned, and maybe some houses kind of play with that, which, hints at this other potential faction being behind this, if you've read the books. But yeah, I thought it was really cool. And so simultaneously, I mean, this guy's ruthless because he kills a little child and he watches the child burn. And so you get the burning child. And then simultaneously across the galaxy is the advisor is also killed and burned. And I'm like, Kasha. And I was like, how the fuck did that happen? And by the way, she also has another segment of unsettling visions, and I liked the way the director and the cinematography is with how they set that up. So I thought, aside from the pacing and some uninteresting younger actresses and stuff, I think the visuals, the atmosphere, the music, and some of the heavy hitter actors like Mark Strong and the Reverend Mother kind of held up this episode. But I can see how there are some weak points in it. So I'm going to go ahead and rate this episode a 7 out of 10. What would you rate episode 1?
Below average for me. I'm gonna say a 4. Yes, I like those points that you said, but there wasn't enough of that. I like the Prince's stuff, going to the club. That was kind of dumb.
Yeah.
The whole training stuff. And the acolytes is like, well, this is it. It's like, well, I come from this family. I slit their throats and this. And it's like, oh, she's badass. She's in training and all this stuff. That really dragged it down for me. I was like, I don't.
That's
really
right.
care.
The Benny Gesserit are shown as martial artists. So all this stuff was from the books, and I never got to see it. And you never see it in the Dune movies because the mothers are all like this. But apparently, they're fucking combat ready. They can actually take on individual soldiers.
Yeah, I think if it would have been done better, I would have liked it more. But it just felt off, and this episode felt like it was trying too hard.
Okay.
Especially the club scene as well.
Yeah, that definitely lowered the score for me too.
It's like baseball highlights when we're going over all the best parts of the episode. It's like, hey, that game must have been really cool. It's like, actually, it was 3 hours and only a little bit what was exciting. The parts that was in the highlights. And so I think that this is also below average, especially for a premiere. I was not expecting a lot from the show because I don't think that these corporate mandated TV series spinoffs from successful movies, they're not all going to be the Penguin. The vast majority of them aren't going to be. So my expectations weren't super high. I just think as a premiere, I was expecting something to hook me.
Yes.
And I watched them back to back. And if I had a week separating the two, I would not have watched episode 2. Outside of the whole review thing, I just would have been like, nah, this show's not for me. There's nothing. There's not enough interesting things happening to warrant a second episode watch.
Understood. Okay, going on to episode 2, which begins with the autopsy of the sister who was burned from across the galaxy. Now, let me jump in here. What do you guys think it is?
Oh, never another agent. There has to be.
What do you think the burning is? I think maybe it's Talaxian tech, or from because there's a faction in Dune that still uses the technology. And I don't know if I'm getting the name right. You have to watch Quinn's ideas, but I think that there's it's AI involved, maybe nanobots, that because it's like, how can you have a simultaneous one?
Yeah.
She must have gotten infected at some point while she was there, and then they activate at the same time, almost time. So to me, that's tech, that's robotic machine. So I'm thinking that, and the stuff about the sandworm and it being mystical is bullshit. That's not how it is.
Yeah, it has to be chemical or some sort of biological agent. I like the idea of it being the nanotech because we see in the second episode that he stops something from happening.
I thought when he stabbed it.
No, he does something here in episode 2 where the Duke is burning and he goes, no, and you can
kind of
and he stops the burning, and it makes
you can tell it makes him discomfort unless he's faking.
Or he's faking it. And so the entire time seeing Mark Strong and seeing the whole burning thing, I think of that Sherlock Holmes movie that Mark Strong was the bad guy in, where he's supposed to be this whole magic thing, but it's all a ruse and it was all science the whole time. And I'm hoping that's not the case, because if they're kind of copying Sherlock Holmes,
hope it is
don't cast Mark Strong, because
but he's not the one doing it.
He is
the emperor. I like Mark Strong as this emperor. He's not strong. In fact, this emperor kind of sucks, and he's weak. Yeah. He's easily manipulated. He has a good heart, and he seems like a good guy, but he's just not one of those steel fucking fisted emperors that really need to run the Landsrat and the Dune universe. Being manipulated by his advisor sisters, now being manipulated by Desmond. So I'm fascinated. Is he going to be betrayed? Is he going to be overthrown? Is he going to be killed by the end of the series? I'm curious. Okay, so getting back there, she is they have the diamond. These are special doctors in the Dune universe, and we saw in fact in the film, the one who brings down the shields in House Atreides has that diamond. He's also a doctor. They're supposed to do no harm. In fact, they're conditioned to do no harm. And the guy that brought down the shields, he was like one of the rare instances where he's able to break his programming. But this doctor comes, and she was a former sister. So has ties, and it shows you that the Bene Gesserit implant people all across all factions, and it's fascinating. She's investigating, and they can't figure it out. Essentially, they don't know what it is, and the sisters get a little scared because of the prophetic visions that they got. And they're starting to lose power. You know, the princess now may not come, and, you know, they're starting to not pay attention to them. So she's got to go and take matters into hands. So Valia leaves to go and secure the princess and investigate some more. Meanwhile, Desmond reveals that the sandworm swallowed him and gave him powers, and he does it for the Imperium. And I like this moment. He's like, "Did you not? You wanted that?" And he's like,
"Not like
I didn't
that.
want you to kill a kid." He's like, "Yeah, you did."
Just stop the wedding. Not like
He's
that.
just, I like how he's the opposite of the sisterhood. He's like so transparent. He tells the truth if you ask him. Whereas the Bene Gesserit, you know, they're very mysterious and guiley. You know, that's not even a word. But so eventually, Mark Strong's character, the Emperor's like, arrest him. You know, he's like, get a little scared because it's like, you know, I can't be involved in this. I have a house here where they have a bunch of fucking fleets in orbit, and his son just died. If I'm tied to this, they're gonna fucking kill us. Now I'm like, God damn it, I want to see more soldiers. Did they not have the budget for it? I want to see some Emperor guards. I want to see some forces posted outside so that I can imagine a small scale battle between these two houses. House Carino, who has pretty much always been Emperor in control of the Lanzarote, and this other house, Riche, I don't know. That would have been cool, but so far you only really see his forces present in orbit. And so he's nervous, so he tells him, "You're in jail," but he doesn't kill him. Doesn't put him to death, because I think he's fascinated, because this guy, I mean, if you can literally burn somebody, it's a useful ability. And I love the floating tech that they use in prison. I mean, that's a fucking shitty way. That's torture, man. What are you, pissing and shitting in your pants and just, you know, just falling down?
It falls and it floats back up and touches you.
Oh, no.
It's hitting me in the face.
Zero gravity piss.
Sick.
I don't know what the hell this is, but I like it's interesting, and it kind of ties into Dune, you know, that little clicker that they use to anti-grav to float. So it's cool. So they imprison him. However, the wife of the Emperor, I think she's the power. She's the pants, and she
used to be, but now I guess she's trying to get back on track.
Yeah. And so she thinks that maybe she can use Desmond as ability. So she's curious in him, and maybe use him to put pressure on this guy with the fucking fleets in orbit. Meanwhile, Valia, before she leaves, she tells Tula, the other second lady in charge, and it seems like there's tension between these two. And I don't know if that's going to come to head in the future or if they're on the same side. But there's tension here, and she's like, you got to use your favorite, Lila, and put her through the agony ritual to commune with the past relatives, because somehow, there's a part that I didn't get, maybe you explain it. One of the older mothers, the original, knew about this.
Yeah, she said that there would be the burning, and she's like, "Look, we got to do this." Oh, but then there's this prophecy, and then her daughter,
so since she created the prophecy or knows the prophecy, they're trying to ask her to give me more details about this burning.
Yeah, you died when you were kind of telling me anything, but the problem is her actual daughter was the one that cut her own throat in the first one, and it sets up.
Yeah, or so there's the grandma. And then there's one in between, the mother, and the mother is the one that got betrayed. And so it's cool when she goes in to commune with there that it's, you know, she's trying to commune with the grandmother, and then she gets hijacked by the mother, and the mother has some fucking unfinished business with the leader. So this, to me, goes way up. I'm interested in it, and I like the way they do it. It's not like zombie. The lighting, the you know, it's all in the mind, and you have that blue liquid that is consuming the red blood cells, and it shows you, you know, how they can even modify their fucking brain waves and patterns and stuff. And I like this otherworldly area where the kind of zombies kind of get closer and closer, and then they're all kind of consuming her, and you see the shot in the eye. So I think the cinematography here, the creativity, and the difficult of these shots, difficulty is some good stuff. But she puts her, through that ritual, and notice they use a root. So we're 10,000 years before they use a root and not the bile from a drowned infant sandworm is what they use in the future, but it's actually the same ritual, and that's why you see. So I'm curious if this will, show that transition. But anyways, it's saying, they are I'm kind of wondering if she's going to be, she seemingly dies. She's overcome by this after she kind of expands on the prophecy, and then she seemingly dies. But she says the key to the reckoning is one born twice, once in blood, once in spice, a revenant full of scars, a weapon born of war on a path too short. So I'm like, what is this? Can you make an interpretation of that? Who is it born twice? Well, it could be talking about Desmond, right? Yeah, born as a human, then born of the sandworm.
He talked about being born again out of the sandworm earlier.
Yeah. It could be referring to Paul Atreides in the future, born as, Atreides, and then later born in Spice, which, his transformation into Muad'Dib.
Lisan al-Gaib.
And Lisan al-Gaib. And a revenant full of scars, not really sure what that means, but a weapon born of war. That could apply to both Desmond or Paul. In fact,
nanotech.
It can even... This is what I got excited about. This prophecy could even refer to Leto II, the God Emperor Worm Man, because born in blood, born in.
You're hyping yourself up again.
I'm hyping myself up.
It's gonna be
but
great.
I think a path too short. It really only applies to Paul, right? Because if you know what happens in Dune Messiah, then you're like, maybe it's Paul. But maybe it could be Desmond too. A path too short means, this life is going to be shortened. So maybe this powers that Desmond are using is hurting him, or maybe he's there are things in this universe called golems that Alex referred to that are almost like clones or robotic or whatever. They could be something like that.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm fascinated.
I think the
by
whole thing's red herring. I think that they're doing the Sherlock thing where he presents himself as be magic.
Don't ruin it for me.
Talking about it's all these things, and it's just a dude who's got nanotech.
It could be both, Joe. There could be a prophecy about it, so the sisters get the premonitions of this going down.
Yeah,
but their vision can't see that it's nanotech. They just see the burnings and all this happening. So I kind of want it to be both. I want it to be AI. Okay, so she seemingly dies. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I'm saying they did mention that. So yeah, I could see. Both.
She seemingly dies. Do you think she's dead, Joe?
No, of course not.
No. In fact, what do you think happens? I'm thinking because of the way they shot it, and then that one mother, I think maybe they take over her fucking brain.
Yeah, I was thinking they're going to be infused.
A servitor.
Yeah,
she's like crazy, or she's losing her mind, and it's her mother taking over her body in order to get revenge against Valia, and maybe she leads a rebellion within the sisterhood, so that kind of civil war. So that, to me, would be more interesting for these acolytes, so I could see some of these boring acolyte characters get killed as they fight each other or something. I don't know. But
just hearing that word, I'm like, oh.
Acolyte?
I mean, there's
I was like, don't say it.
There are established splinter factions of the sisterhood, so it makes sense. I mean, it's a giant wasted opportunity if she's dead.
I thought the scene was really fucking cool. Did you like that?
Yeah,
that was a good one.
Yeah.
Like again, this one has great visual. Well,
these
two shows have great visuals.
Yes, yeah. But they follow up this badass fucking sequence, which I can't praise it enough, with a really shitty one. We go to the fucking club again. Or no, this isn't a club. This is, I don't know, it's a tree. Room. Right, a tree trunk sex dungeon something. And I'm like, all right, HBO. They're like, can we get some titties up in here? It's like, I'm glad there's some titties here. I like some sexual stuff. But it just dragged on for too long.
Yeah.
It went way too long. And it's like, okay, but that's like the Game of Thrones sex requirement that you see. You got your titties hanging out. And who is this? this is
Constantine and
The
what?
prince,
I don't
right?
remember her name, but she's
she's the daughter of the
Richesse. I think Richesse.
Richesse. We're just gonna call him Richesse. Okay, and he sucks. This I don't know, bastard prince or whatever they call him.
Yeah.
And he's
Tells
just a
him
dumbass.
everything,
He
yeah.
fucking tells her everything, and she's clearly using him. She's like, "You're useful in some ways," referencing. He thinks that he's good at sex, but it's like because he's fucking telling her everything. So he reveals to her that his father imprisoned Desmond and maybe it had to do with the death of her son. So of course she runs and goes tells her daddy right away. There needed to be some scene. I think they did do a single shot of her, like looking and him looking at her, but there needed to be a little bit more. There's like, bitch, motherfucker, you doing that? But because this could tear the galaxy apart.
Yeah.
This could be
It could kill the house.
Could kill the fucking house. Yeah. But yeah, I get it, HBO, and I like titties as much as the next man, and I like sexual things and in the HBO kind of thing, but just went too long.
I think she could have just like looked around the corner and bam, done. That's it.
Well, that would be boring.
I
she
thought
looked around
that
the
sexy
corner and
was
heard?
just like she kind of saw what was going
Yeah.
on. I think that would have
right.
been better than
Than this.
stupid like. I thought that
Agreed.
was like there's no use for that scene.
Yeah. And then we move on to Yanez, which is the princess character. And I don't know. I'm hoping I can grow to like this character because I don't like her.
the characters.
I don't like the actress.
I
don't like the performance.
The head honchos, yes.
I don't like, but the
everything below
princess
that.
is just not doing it. So
Agreed.
I'm hoping she can maybe convince me because all of her subplots right now, she's pissed that Kesha died. Kasha, the lady that burned, she obviously had kind of a motherly relationship with her, and I guess she was supposed to go to the sister. So the Reverend Mother visits her. She's like, I still want to go. Blah blah blah. She's like hardcore about it, and that's good because Valia. I don't know. Good. I don't know who the main character. I don't know who the good character is, and that's kind of cool that we don't really have a protagonist yet or a sense a good character because Valia could be the villain.
You only get temporary
that.
protagonists in Dune because the protagonists turn into assholes real fast.
I love it.
Unless, I guess, Duncan Idaho, who has a magic penis.
Oh, yes. Duncan Idaho, who lives forever and has a magical penis. Anyways, that's Jason
Any
Momoa,
chance.
so women are going to love that.
Yeah.
Anyways, but yeah, so she basically confronts... Valia then confronts the Desmond in prison. So she I love this scene as they're trading barbs back and forth, and it's very mysterious. So that is a cool scene. And then we have another subplot that's developing here.
Yes.
So the Swordmaster, Kyrian Atreides.
Because I was going to bring that
Joe?
up as well because he's like, oh, are we going to continue this relationship? It's like, no, because I was going to leave, but now we can't have this relationship. It's like, okay, this is dumb. But then
He's got a knife to his gut as he tries to kiss her.
Yeah, he actually got the blueprint for the castle. And they're going to do another rebellion. It's like,
He is a part of the rebels.
Yeah, I was like,
He's against the Imperium, basically. Don't care. Don't care. And this is an Atreides, and I'm supposed to care about Atreides because I like the faction Atreides, but it's just 10,000 years in the future.
The rebels are the good guys, Joe.
Yeah, I
So
guess.
Star Wars steals from Dune. Dune goes right back and steals from Star Wars.
Well, I like how they immediately do rebels aren't always the good guys and they're probably setting a conflict that I won't care between Kyrian and Yanez when she says, when I was a girl, the rebels captured me and my whole family and fuck the rebels and then, and he's like, oh, I'm a rebel. You don't ever see that in his face. You don't see that in his performance, but I'm curious if they're setting that up for the future.
That's going to be a big thing because there's rebellion here, and then there's rebellion in the Bending the Jets.
Yeah. And I like
It's like, oh, so you see somebody, you just pluck them out, and it's like, yeah.
But also, the Benny and the Jets are in charge of the rebellion as well. They're the ones that are funding and sparking the rebellion. By the end of the episode, the Reverend Mother comes in and says, all right, we can't do that no more.
Too many
Let's support the
rebellions."
Emperor. So now they're going to betray the rebellion, and I think that will blow up in their face. The fact that they're trying to play both sides. One,
But you can't.
You can't do that.
One of them's going to...
Well, apparently you can do it for 10,000 years.
You
'cause the
can if you're
Bene
competent.
Gesserit.
These people aren't competent.
And then finally, Ferdinand is burned. So the Ferdinand Reshi is fucking pissed. He's yelling at the emperor in
killed
an
his
open
son.
audience. Yeah, of course. You'd
Well,
be
the emperor
fucking,
didn't do it. Some dude did.
Pissed.
Well, he knows
And he's
who
threatening the emperor and stuff. And he's like, "You pulled." And finally, Mark Strong gets up out of his chair. I'm like, "Let's go! Finally, some backbone here." But then it turns out he let free Desmond. Desmond walks from the shadows and just starts burning his ass, and he's gonna kill him. And he goes, "Mercy, mercy, mercy." And then he stops. And so it's like, yeah, you brought that dog to heel. But I'm thinking in my head, motherfucker, as soon as I get on my ship, I'm going to fucking start firing. I don't know about you.
Kill him, though, still.
Is he like super scared? Oh, okay. They should have said, maybe dropped a line where it's like, I could do this to you from anywhere in the galaxy. So think twice, before firing. But he doesn't say that. It's just burning. Oh, you stop the burning. But like a fucking, rabid dog like that, as soon as you unchain him again, he's gonna come after you again. So I kind of wanted some reference.
He's a little crispy for that right now.
Okay, so he turned full bitch, and he's like, okay, I'm gonna
That shit hurt.
Oh, that shit hurt. I'm gonna go on my
So
ship.
stop cooking.
We're going home. We don't ever see the ship fly off, so I'm wondering in episode 3 if they're already out of orbit. By the way, love all the ship designs. So cool. They're like geometric shapes with like fucking triangles.
There's one with
and
like
squares.
an antenna. And
Yeah, I like it. I just
clapper.
love that shit. And I probably give it more praise than it does. No, I'd give it the praise that it deserves because a lot of people worked on this, like concept artists, and seeing it going from concept art to actual realization. Often it's not good, but here it's good. I think it maintains its artistry. Okay. Valia's spy is the bartender in the rebellion. Okay, I already mentioned that.
Yeah.
That they're going to betray the rebels. Then we get, I'd say, the best scene of the series so far, where Desmond at the end confronts Valia in this hearing room, and he says that he's going to completely destroy the sisterhood and this and that. He's getting real threatening with her, and then this girl thinks she's in control. She's like, "You think you could go against me?" And she goes, "Take out your knife." It's like, and he's doing it, and
great acting.
You can tell it's so cool that she uses the voice on him, but he resists, and that moment where he gets it over. So either he was faking or either he actually was resisting, and he didn't really know whether he could resist the voice. And when he realizes, I like that explanation where he didn't know going in that he could resist the voice, but he does it, and that's it. All the power drains from Valia.
Yeah, I thought he was just acting because like afterwards he's smiling and
he
puts it back in.
Smiling, and then like
He's
it's
like,
a nice
nah,
little.
it doesn't work.
No, he doesn't do.
That'd be sweet.
Yeah, but I just loved it. It was very fascinating. Good setup.
This was probably the best part. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we got some great mysteries here. We're at the end of the episode. Let's give it a final verdict.
I like this a little bit more, obviously, than the first one. Mm-hmm. But it still drags down. I'm probably gonna go like a 6 or 7.
Okay. You get some time, Alex?
I'm also at a 6 or 7.
Yeah.
I was waiting to be swayed one way or the other.
I am at an 8.
Yeah, I think
Trying to sway you guys.
Yeah, there's some excellent stuff in here,
Yeah.
but I think that there are excellent moments surrounded by things and characters and storylines that, as of this point, I just don't care about. Mm-hmm. The princess, I don't necessarily care about. I don't care for how they're portraying House Carino yet. Mm-hmm. I mean, I need it like him to be like, "Oh, I got a fleet." It's like, yeah, well, I do too. I'm the fucking emperor. Do you know where you are right now?
That's
like,
what I was saying. I want to see some forces.
If we were on Arrakis, sure, your fleet means something. Where do you think you're standing right now? Light this bitch on fire. Like, I needed something more to see.
By the way, they are standing on Secundus Soko Sasakaka.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, something like that.
And that planet was the planet that they were, the Emperor's elite troops. But it was the Sardaukar, yeah, the planet is fucking been mined to shit. But it shows you that planet was once a rich planet, and the Sardaukar don't exist yet. But
Yeah.
go ahead.
Yeah, so I think that there's some really great moments in this, like really exciting moments that actually give me hope for the television show.
Yeah.
I just think that right now there are more storylines that are not quite working for me than there are storylines that are working for me. And so I'm gonna give it a 6. I think that this is an above average
Remember,
episode.
our ratings can change.
Yeah,
with
yeah,
more
of course.
context.
Yeah, there can be all sorts of things.
For
It's
TV
like,
series.
you go back and watch some of the things, and they can definitely get better. But right now, I think that they're trying to do too much with too many characters that I just don't care about.
Yeah, I'm leaning towards that too. And again, like I said, we could probably change it because I don't really care about the princess. I don't care about the whole beginning with the sex scene with Constantine. I don't care about the rebellion of Carrion.
Yeah.
And then another rebellion within probably the sisters. It's just a lot of it.
For me, the ritual held it up. So
yeah.
you're gonna go. What are you
A
going?
6.
6.
Yeah, like
Okay.
everything else, like we've been saying, the main characters, fucking love them, but it gets sidetracked with everything else that I don't like, and they focus too much on that.
Yeah, I think the acolytes are starting to come up for me, and I gave it -2 points because of the sex scene and the rebellion, side stuff with the princess and the sword master. Don't really care as much right
Yeah,
there.
because we're gonna see that love story. We have to end it.
Are they in
somehow.
But for
love?
me, I wanted to give it a high rating because there's a sneaking suspicion that if it doesn't pay off, this is as best as we're going to get. And this is how I'm feeling right now. I'm like, I hope that's not the case, but I'm wondering, is this the best we're going to get in this little setup? And then the payoff or the mystery is not as satisfying. Will there be a big battle? I don't think so, because the fucking budget would have to be insane for these massive sci-fi battles. It's more going to be cutthroat, house against house, betraying, a sister civil war, an empire civil war dealing with the emperor, and then Desmond's mystery revealed. And that is fascinating enough for me.
Yeah,
So
we know he doesn't.
8
He's not
out
successful.
of 10.
We know he doesn't do what he set out to do. So destroy the sisterhood.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so like the problem with some of these
but why?
prequel things
Maybe
is
he
like
does destroy the sisterhood for a
Momentarily.
few, eons, decades, but then they come back.
Yeah.
But that is not the destruction he was hoping for.
But how do they do the voice, Joe?
I know, we don't know. And I
And how
kinda
did he
like-
stop the voice? Because if
I'm
it
gonna
is,
say I kind of like the idea of not knowing, because they've already made it
Deal with the
clear that
devil.
the Bene Gesserit, they can like manipulate their molecules down to the fucking atoms. And
Poisons,
so
yeah.
it would have been nice to see some kind of scene, but you don't have to always demystify every single thing.
I
And I
don't-
think that's cool to kind of keep it.
yeah, I don't need to know how the voice worked. It's like I don't need to know how the Force works, but knowing how, like, seeing someone develop the use of Jedi mind tricks would be really cool to do. Shut up.
So here
Fucking
is
shut up.
the
Stop it.
interesting stuff for me. Who is Desmond? How
Yes.
did he get his powers?
Good stuff.
Is he really born of the sandworms? Or is it, AI stuff in robotics and Talaxian or something? And then the other thing is Valia hiding something? She's got this, what's her origin? Like, what's the deal with her Harkonnen family? Because she's Harkonnen,
Yeah.
but she doesn't like her family, it seemed like. They were like, the Harkonnens are requesting for a sister, and then she's like, nope.
The intro, so it's like after the war, there was shame upon her family, and so they were forced to live in like a shitty world. So her and her sister go join and kind of found the sisterhood, and so she will always hate her family because they were cowards.
Yeah, so I'm curious on there. That could be an interesting thing. And then this one, less interesting. How does the princess fit in? Hopefully this will get more interesting. Because does she join the sisterhood, get fucking, powers and martial arts, and then use that against the sisterhood? Or does she become a soldier for the sisterhood, and the Carino family's trying to, and not Paul Atreides, Kieran Atreides is trying to break her from that programming? How is that going to, work out, and will it be compelling?
She has to have Kieran's baby because that's where
So
Paul
far-
comes from.
Oh, please don't.
not.
Well, because from her is where they're like, hey, we need this whole genetic map to work. Her son or like her offspring is going to. We need her to have a son with Richesi.
Oh, really?
And
Okay, go ahead.
And so, like, she's important. That's why they need her there. And they're like, this is.
Oh, I thought
this
you
is
meant
important.
her and the joining of a Paul of an Atreides bloodline will lead to Paul.
Well, that's what I said. It's like her and Atreides will lead to Paul, and that's what the
Okay.
Bene Gesserit weren't counting on way down the line. And so, this is a connection to
Will
the
the
movies.
Emperor be overthrown, attacked, betrayed? A brewing sisterhood civil war. And by the end, though, like Alex says, the sisterhood needs to be back in power. So, and in the good graces of every single house in Dune.
In
so
4
it's like you
episodes,
already
find
know
out.
what's going to happen. But it's like Star Trek: Strange New Worlds. Yes, I know that Captain Kirk or not Kirk. Pike is going to survive, or I know what his fate is, but it's still interesting to watch. And so far right now, it's interesting to watch, and hopefully it maintains that. All right, that's our opinion. We'll update you on that. If you've seen it, leave your thoughts down below. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you guys on the next Angry Joe Show. Bye, guys.